Hello. Welcome to another conversation with Jen and Julianne. Back at it again. I'm Julianne. That's Jen. Hi, Jen.
And I'm Jen. Hello. Always so fun to chat astrology with you. And today we're going to get into Neptune in
Neptune,
all of its foggy glory.
foggy glory, mystical, unknowable glory. This is going to be very fun, if not a little bit challenging, because for both of us, I think, and maybe for you too, listening, Neptune is the planet that you are cannot and should not try to put your finger on, because the minute you begin to grasp it, it seems to fall through your fingers. So I hope you are at least entertained by the conversation, if nothing more. Yeah. So in this video, we're just going to talk generally about Neptune, and then we're going to go into the house and sign breakdown. So you can use this video for either your Neptune by house placement, or of course by your Neptune by sign placement, or of course both. Yes.
Check the timestamps
Check the
below.
timestamps. And then Jen and I will also be hosting a class together on Neptune. If any of these thoughts resonate with you, you want to go deeper with us on it and your specific Neptune aspects in your birth chart, you will submit your charts to us and then we'll work through the major aspects together in a group in a little bit of a lecture and Q&A setting. So that's the vibe.
Yeah. A fun Neptune deep dive, and the introduction of this video will, as well as our live webinar, we will try to get into the essence of Neptune and why it's important in our lives and our charts, and to dream about and talk about and yearn for
Hmm.
this presence of a all-encompassing energy of all things.
There you go. I think the yearning really is the great place to start. And I might put you on the spot to begin, Jen,
I could do
because I
that.
think I think the best way to talk about Neptune is to really ground it in the most grounded thing possible, which is like our direct experience in our lives. And Neptune moves very slowly, relatively slowly. Large swaths of each generation will have Neptune in the same sign. And I was talking with Jen before we started recording about, how powerful I personally think the generation of Neptune in Sagittarius is. I think that Neptune and Sagittarius people are some of the wisest and the most open and the most compassionate when it comes to their desire to heal people naturally. Neptune, one of the many things that can show us in our chart is where we are naturally healing ourselves and other people through love, like through this completely unified field. Jen, I just wonder, as a Neptune and Sagittarius native, do you find that this really optimistic Sagittarian capacity to like hold that healing space, have you identified with that at all in your life?
I do, and I love the way that you put that. I think that with Neptune and Sagittarius, we go out and seek these experiences, and we want to walk through the spiritual
Mm,
journey and feel it for ourselves and understand it from a more visceral experience, even though Sag isn't necessarily visceral. I think of it as embodying because we're tangibly trying to figure something out by
right.
our own personal experiences. And I mean, it leads us in so many different directions, though. Neptune can
Mm,
be a slippery energy to get in balance because I was thinking about Neptune and Pisces, and there will be some overlap in the way that I refer to both of them, but it's 1/12 of the pie, or it's 2/12, depending on how we're looking or the aspects that make Neptune and Pisces more potent. But we can, with Neptune connected to Sagittarius, you can be engulfed by that experience and you can get stuck there. You can get
mm,
stuck in the what's not real, what's intangible. You can get stuck in spiritual quests and spiritual seeking.
mm.
And your generation of Neptune and Capricorn, it's a like, hold on, we're
Yeah.
here in this earthly realm, and what are we gonna do with that? And Sag has some of that quality too. Like, what's the point? What are we gonna do with this information? And so just think about even our sleep. is Neptune, and that we spend
That's
most
a
of our
good one.
lives in sleep or spiritual seeking. So, how do we check that into how much time we're supposed to spend in Neptunian experiences
Mm,
versus our real life? And Gemini being the polarization of Sagittarius, much more
mm,
hands-on functional energy as well. And then Virgo being the polarity of Pisces, again, talking
mm,
about those tangible, detailed qualities. Don't get too lost. Don't watch Netflix for 8 hours straight or do hallucinogenics when having a square to Neptune. Don't get stuck in those places. And I find personally, it's hard to get myself out. If I get myself into a Neptunian slide,
hmm.
it's a drag. Like it's not a quick snap to release from that fog, that daydreaming, or that pause in life. I'm one of those people that I need a certain amount of timeouts and 12th house experience and that retreat away from the real world. Yet our lives aren't functional in the ways that we want them to be if we're spending 8/12ths of our time in Neptune energy.
Oh my goodness. As a Pisces rising person, I feel called out, but no, I'm kidding. Because this, Pisces rising would be like my whole life is Neptune in a way. It's all a dream, which, and this is maybe just my devil's advocate point to everything you've said, which is that at some level, it all is a dream, right? Like at some
Yeah.
level, it all is just energy. And that's why Neptune is considered that omega aspect, whereas Aries is that alpha, right? Like the omega, that Pisces 12th house Neptune has everything contained with it and more, right? It has all of the signs that came before it and more. And so you can, makes me think deeply of A Course in Miracles, any type of non-dualistic perspective or like theory or cosmology, which very much so is basically the pure delineation is that everything is not real. The only reality is like the dream is reality, for example. And so, which I'm not saying we have to ascribe to that all the time, but it is an interesting, there's how many devil's advocates exist in this world that we live in. But I think it's just really I don't know. Some of us have a strong Neptune relationship in our charts, and then others don't. And so some people will be drawn into these contemplations and consider themselves mystics, and others won't. I know you have strong Neptune aspects in your chart. I have strong Neptune aspects in my chart, and I think that's kind of the mark of the person who's going to spend a lot of time deeply contemplating Neptune, which is funny to even think about that you could contemplate Neptune because it is so engulfing and so as a Pisces rising, but my Neptune in Capricorn, I often think like, no, it is very black and white. Like we can't get lost in spirituality. But the minute I start feeling holier than thou, like about spirituality, I get knocked off my peg. I'm like, oh damn, like it's just like, yeah, sorry for swearing, but yeah, like it's a really silly little signature there because it holds so much and yet it's totally destabilizing. Like,
It can be, and you have such a strong balance in your chart with Neptune and Saturnian,
yeah,
Capricornian qualities. Do you find that you crave being out of this world? Because that's another piece that is very Neptunian, or that strong Neptune people can have, is that there's a craving or desire or feeling that home isn't here.
I think maybe because I'm a Cancer, I really do feel like home is here. And I think my delusion or my feeling that home isn't here is just when it comes to what does it mean for us to have a goal in this world? Like what does it mean? What does Capricorn really mean? Because of course we need stability, we need structure. I have a skeleton. This was our other video that we did together, Jen, which was Capricorn through the houses, which I loved. Like this is such a beautiful contemplation, right? Like what is reality? What are we building with our every breath that we take that comes through our body and our
And they go
I
together.
they go together. And like so for me, like I don't feel like I want to be anywhere else. I don't feel like an alien necessarily, but I feel an alien around. I feel somewhat alienated by things like capitalism or the rat race. But then at the same time, I know that by alienating myself from them, that I'm only making it harder for me to like I have to basically be compassionate towards everything, including oppressive structures. Like Aquarius would be more, I mean, I have some Aquarius in my chart too, but I feel like Aquarius is really the more alien aspect. And I don't know, do you feel with your South Node?
Yeah, I think of that as the intellectual version of
Mm, int
the energetic realm and the divine intelligence,
mm,
and Pisces and Neptune is more of the feeling, the yearning. And I like that you talked about compassion, because
hmm
that could be a signature for Neptune in
Totally.
Capricorn generation, is unconditional love for that Capricornian
Right.
stuff on Earth. And
Right.
as we were talking about leading up to this too, Adam Elmas reminds us that before Neptune was discovered, Saturn embodied the Neptune qualities. So there's a lot of connection between Saturn and Neptune,
Yeah.
as far as the point where Earth and the ether connect, Gaia and the cosmos. There are some Aquarian things for that too, and maybe we can do that in our next exploration of planets and archetypes. Another thing that's coming to mind with bringing Neptune with us throughout the day is that Jason Hawley did a lovely presentation on the diurnal motion, which is looking at how the planets rise above the
Mm.
ascendant, and explaining that the 12th house there is that reminder to bring that with you throughout the day. And I think
Mm.
about that first waking when your dreams are we're still connected to the feeling of our dream. And then as we go about our day, by the time we get to the 30 degrees that the sun is up, our dream is sometimes completely forgotten, if not
Mm.
a part of our lives. But there's something very important and subconscious that happens in that dream state, which is Neptunian, that is part of our day, that is part of what is real for us in that moment from an energetic perspective, not just us going into our brains by 9 a.m. and staying in a cranial experience of this world.
I love cranial experience as a Saturn term. And like,
Yeah.
of course, we can only like even register the Neptunian through the cranial experience. You know what I mean? I just love everything. I mean, it's just it's kind of, you get frozen. I get frozen when I start to think or talk about this stuff because it's like, there is no boundary really. I mean, there is a boundary to what we're directly experiencing in our own bodies and like what we are essentially magnetizing, transmitting, or like our vibration, which I think would that be a Uranian or a Neptunian term? I think it's more of a Uranian. Our vibration is more of a Uranus Aquarius signature, would you say?
I guess the frequency I think of more as connected to the nervous system, which is Uranian,
Hmm.
and the Neptunian realm is probably beyond that. If we looked at
Right,
the astral bodies and astral
right,
layers of our
right,
energetic field, Aquarius would be closer to our
right.
core physical body.
The fog that you are in
The
right
crown
now.
chakra, yeah, the fog that I'm in, the crown chakra, the one
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
above
Well,
our system.
the other thing that I wanted to say here is that you only a lot of this goal that I was saying earlier of life, right? Like and that's what I question and think deeply about. That is the relationship between Saturn and Neptune in our own charts, which is another really interesting thing to look at. What's the relationship between Saturn and Neptune in your chart? Because that can kind of show you where you're perpetually either like at what stage of building a dream are you in, for your own soul lifetime. But of course, we've all just begun this building out of this new Neptunian dream back in February with the Saturn Neptune conjunction in Aries. And so now more than ever, Neptune is actually still quite tangible because it's so close to Saturn still. It's surely going to move much more quickly than Neptune, so that Saturn connection to Neptune it won't stay this tangible for that long necessarily, but right now and for like that first half of this year, I think we've really been able to realize that Neptune was merged with reality, which is to say, our goal, our dream. the vision that propels us forward, which is very much so Neptune, I would say, which is like the third eye, like the inner vision, the inner insight, the inner capacity to see everything with love and to see everything unified with compassion and move towards that vision in every action that we do and build out a world, which is Saturn, build out a world based on that vision that's more unified than ever. And we can feel that so strongly right now. And like I said, over the last 6 months. So, another way to think about what started in February for you was a dream, like that's a real vision that you had. And that all it is that Aries present moment with both of them in Aries right now, like the immediate reality, like we're not digging so deep anymore. We're not needing to dredge up, trauma, or we can to heal it, right? But this moment is more about radical acceptance and just radical beingness also, and
Yeah.
just acting. So
Put
that's
it
a good way
exactly,
to feel it.
putting those Neptunian dreams into action after we
Right.
have just gone through a elongated gestational period with both of those planets in Pisces. And it is our ability to tap into that creative vision for whatever we want to create in lives. And it starts with that. It starts with Neptune and Pisces and what we visualize, our vision boards, what we see in movies, in media, and what we dream about, and then bringing that into some kind of reality.
Exactly.
And that's the overwhelm that can happen with Neptune in our charts and Neptune transits and Neptune activations is going from illusion to reality, or this big wave
Mm,
of what we didn't realize, what was hidden from us, what was going on, or the friction between fantasy and reality, and which world do we live in and how much time do we spend in each one?
there's something I feel really compelled to say right now about like artists because, well, I'm a painter and I think many Neptunian people are creatively inclined just because there's so much knocking around our cranial skulls of this like Neptunian magic that's trying to find some form in reality. I've gone through a lot being an artist and my own judgment of like, am I delusional? Is this ever going to work? And blah blah blah, this big question. And there was a period where I would think of artists, living artists, and judge them because I also wasn't doing well. I also didn't have a good container for my creativity. I didn't have a positive perspective on my, like, I felt like delusional essentially. So I thought all artists were delusional. But it's very different now. Now I feel like I'm returning to where I was when I started studying art, which is you see, let's see artists, or let's say artists who have already passed, and you see what they did throughout their lives, the successful ones and the ones that make a mark on the world, is they hold their vision even when the reality doesn't catch up with them. So you see artists who only get famous, let's say after their passing, or, because they were necessarily the one that broke the rules. And so maybe they didn't always have Saturn on their side, right? And it's only now that I'm like, oh, that's actually aspirational for me. Like, I want to live my life that way as well. Like, always holding true to my vision, even if I get in trouble for it, or even if it doesn't work out in the ways that, society or even I want it to work out. You know what I mean? Like, to some, and this might be delusional of me, but to some delusional extent, I do think that holding true to your vision, and I guess I would say the more compassionate, the better, the more healing, the better. But of course, if you have a vision of hellfire that you can only exorcise through painting, then do that also, like whatever it is. But I do think that Neptune, it's because for some of us, it's almost impossible to draw that boundary of reality versus like the deluge that happens in the creative mind of a Neptunian person, or even like Neptunian people that and like how do you support someone who's so boundaryless? Like I think about that for myself all the time. Like I've had so much support in my life and people who contribute to my well-being because I am the way I am. So anyway, just wanted to throw that in there. It's a lot. It's a lot. Neptune is a lot.
It is. And I think that I like what you're touching on about where are our values
Mm,
around Neptune, creativity. allowing, because when you're talking about the artist component of Neptune, I think our judgments are pushing for change around that generationally.
Mm,
And when we're worried about survival, we don't have the luxury to be artists and creatives. We're hunting and gathering and stuck in what can we acquire just to get by. But it's a privilege to be able to hold space for creativity and not be in the constant rat race
hmm
of structure and performance. And I feel like the we're making a strong comeback because now as artists, there are lots of ways to make money that didn't exist back in Neptune and Scorpio, for example, when our
mm,
parents were telling us
hmm
be accountants
hmm
and lawyers and doctors because you're going to be poor if you follow your artist's path. And we're breaking through that now
Exactly.
and creating more space for romance. That's another thing that's very Neptunian, is where
Mm,
it's what we idolize and
hmm
where we are hopeless romantics and have unconditional love. And it's going to show up differently in everyone's chart depending on the conditions placed on Neptune. But there's endless potential in Neptune and
Yeah.
Pisces, and we get to choose how much of that potential we want to work with.
Amen.
And there's patience. You can't
hmm
force the gestation period.
Mm-mm.
And that's more in the Pisces side of this than the Neptune, but I think both apply in in that this is an interesting time that we're in with Neptune being in Aries, and there is more urgency in that
hmm
archetype. And that doesn't go to traditionally with Neptune's pace of
Yeah.
slowness.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think Neptune is slow, but it can also come in all at once. You know what I mean? Like I think Neptune
Yeah,
is so many.
floods.
I fully understand. It's
It
incredible.
floods, it leaks, it
Exactly. Mists,
dissipates,
it,
it
yeah.
mists.
I don't even know all the words, but it's pretty incredible. I mean, Neptune is the reason I think like if I were to put the like infinite soul, so often we
Food
did you
wise, this could, there's,
mm,
well, I think of that's another layer for the second house is what you are what you eat.
well, what was coming to my mind was the proof might not be in the pudding for this one. Because like I was thinking like, well, what you believe is in your pudding, but then it's like, well, you can also lose your pudding pretty easily with this. Um, but it's also worth noting, like, so no one alive right now has Neptune in Taurus, for example. So you very well can have Neptune in the second house, but no one has Neptune in Taurus that is alive, which I think is just an interesting. We will have Neptune in Taurus later in like 2040 something, 20 maybe end of the 2030s, right? When Pluto is finishing his time in Aquarius, Neptune will enter Taurus, and I think that'll be a very interesting time to really feel the mystical truth of abundance in this weird way. Like that's a very positive reflection, I would say, of a Neptune and Taurus, but I think of course it can be like the ground can disappear. Like there could be, and as I say that, I wonder about like virtual reality and things like this and like the sensory. It almost reminds me of, have you ever been to a 4D movie? You know how there are 3D movies?
Mm.
I've
haven't
been
been,
I've
but
I've been
right, like the chair that
the chairs
shakes.
shake and
That's
then
the
they spray water in your face or something
yeah.
like this.
I did that at Universal Studios,
I think I
which is
did it at
also
a
very
theme park.
Neptunian.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know why. It's like there's just this sensory reality becomes merged with the Neptunian. It's not just what you see, you know what I mean? I mean, this could maybe apply to many other areas of the chart, but just that combining that Neptunian capacity to,
Let's get
yeah,
into the houses and signs and
very cool.
talk more about how Neptune relates in those practical experiences.
I mean, I think everyone can stay for the first first house Aries because I mean, as I said earlier, this is something we're all experiencing in the current transit. But of course, if you have this in your natal chart, probably you'll have Neptune in the first house because I don't think anyone alive, if you're a child, if you're a baby infant, you would have Neptune in Aries. But I don't think anyone who is older than 1 year or so, actually, it'd be six
Yeah,
months
a few
old right
months. Yeah.
now.
Not
Um,
watching this video.
Not watching this video for sure. Maybe no, not even your mother. Anyway, so no one alive has this, but there's a very, very good chance that you have Neptune in the first house. The way I have seen this play out is really that you are somehow very magnetic and somehow very charismatic. Like there's something very shiny about you, or there's something very mystical and beautiful, and like people can project onto you somewhat easily as well. With it just being in the first house, of course, this depends on the sign, and you can, listen to the actual sign that your first house Neptune falls into later in the video. Yeah, that first house Neptune in Aries, Neptune is so immediate. And I can imagine that as a birth, that did, and as a birth chart signature, you are like a live wire to that collective unconscious. Like you walk it.
I love that. I love the magnet that you're bringing in, the magnet energy
Mm,
quality of Neptune, and extremely creative with
right,
Neptune in the
right,
first house. In this fantasy world, sometimes like these are the people that could be creating films and in that
right. Actually, yes,
type of work
absolutely,
because there's such a
absolutely.
connection to creating fantasy
Mm,
and
mm,
reminds me of a Peter Pan type of energy as well, where you get to hold on to that dream, you get to live it
mm.
every day. And it might be hard to do some of the real world stuff. It might be hard to, depending on a personal birth chart, it could be hard to tap into some of the Capricornian. What is it
Mm,
like to run a business or be an authority figure? Or what is it like to not be so permeable to the other humans in the world and have that magnetic
right,
quality that draws in other people's energy? So that's
right.
where boundaries become more important when you have
Mm,
Neptune or Pisces in the first house. But don't let go of that being the creator and in that fantasy world because we need
yeah.
those perspectives in life.
And it's like you're holding the immediacy of the collective unconscious too. You know what I mean? So like there's some ways that you're a barometer for collective truth. I mean, not that there is only one, right? Art is just such a strong, actually, this is reminding me of a client that I had with the signature who literally is a filmmaker. And I'm like, yeah, obviously, like you make film being that Neptune, like the movie magic, you know what I mean, of Neptune, like creating the illusion, like editing and whatnot. So,
And the romantics of the world. So the
mm,
theme there's love and compassion and empathy and understanding
right,
of
right.
what people go through.
Because there's a strong identification with that in the first house because you really feel like that's who you are in a really immediate sense. Someone ultra compassionate and romantic, as you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And since you, yeah, use the word identification, just there could be it could be tricky to
Yeah.
feel a certain identity. You can
That's
feel all of them.
very, very well put. I mean, you could feel like a mystic, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
maybe until you find the word mystic, you might feel very confused. And then you're like,
that's a
oh,
good point.
this is who I am. But it's this very
the
open.
wizards the wizards and
Mm-hmm,
the alchemists of the
mm-hmm,
world as well.
mm-hmm.
You have a strong ability to use energy as a strong force in your body and shift your energetic state. You let us know, you
Yeah, let us know
those of
if
you
that
with Neptune
tracks.
in the first, we'll go with Pisces in the first two, somewhat applicable.
Right, right.
And now for the second house, when it comes to our stability, our values, our resources, this
That's right.
can be over idealization of financial matters.
Mm,
And there can be a lot of leaks, I think, that people with this, depending on other planets, of course, but to be careful of making sure that what you spend your money and energy on aligns with your values and
mm.
keeping a constant recheck on that and whether or not there are unnecessary energetic leaks.
Have a dream and like feeling it, feeling the dream. I mean, this might be someone who maybe feels, what would the word be? Clairsentient or something. Like is that the one where you get like a physical feeling of a knowing? I mean, the Neptune signature being somewhere you can also just like we said earlier, like tap into the collective unconscious or the collective consciousness and really get messages for like timeless messages, universal mystical messages for many people. And then that Taurus just pertaining to, my goodness, I keep wanting to say like the garden as well, like really communicating
Yeah.
with like fairies and nature spirits and whatnot. You could say this maybe about the earth houses, but that second house just really being about your values. I mean, this can also be a difficulty in really knowing what your values are. I think you said this earlier though. That's I think that feels like the like baseline of it all, if I'm
And
thinking
yet,
deeply enough.
this is the contradiction in Neptune sometimes too, is that then this is also where we develop our strong intuitive sense.
Right.
So at and I find this in astrology is that the things that are the most, and I say this about Pisces transits all the time, the things that are harder to find, we figure out the process in that fog. So we're searching
Mm,
a little harder. This
right.
then becomes strong intuition for investments and knowing
Mm,
how to ride that stock market
mm,
wave and when the right time to buy in and pull out sort of sense about things. So it can come from both places. It can come from needing to work your way through the fog to understand your values and how to manage money and how to manage your energy. And in that process, you become an intuitive expert because you are really tuned
mm.
into this part of your chart and this will apply to wherever it falls.
That's a great
But I
point.
like that for the second
I
house
love
as far
that.
as maybe even following astrology to invest your money because you would be
Mm,
applying these metaphysical tools as well
hmm.
as your intuition. And
I
astrology could
mean,
be very Aquarian as well, but there's
talk about spiritual resource, right? Like resource second house, spiritual being that Neptune thing. Because so often in like as I'm tracking transits, also I see Neptune transits come on so strongly when you are taking in any sort of spiritual perspective, like any meditative process or spiritual cosmology or something that's helping you get bigger than the current limitations of your circumstance. And so that resource, I mean, that really becomes a resource for you, like your capacity to tap into that. So that's kind of what you're saying, but it's a cool one. It feels
true. That
slower.
could be your food source. I think of the monks that
Mm,
don't eat and meditate, and that's
mm-hmm. Very
Neptune,
much second
second
house
house, like nourish your body with
with
meditation
with meditation,
over an
which
apple.
with the collective consciousness, like, you know,
Yes. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
amazing. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. Interesting. You'll have to let us know if you have this signature, how you see it track in your life, because it's
Yeah,
really
definitely.
like the ground can shift. That's the other thing I'm seeing. Like the rug can be pulled quite literally under you, like what you think you have. It could be confusion on what's yours and what's not yours also. Just
Mm-hmm.
just
I like
thinking.
that.
Just thinking. Yeah.
Third
Third
house.
house.
Well, here we go. This is what we're trying to do right now is put this intangible fog into words. And people with Neptune in the third house might have learning and communication
There you go.
differences. This, I think, could also be communicating through energy. Children that don't speak, that are considered mute or don't
Mm,
speak for several years, they are actually telepathic and they're communicating through telepathy and
wow.
energy. And that's why they don't
Wow.
speak for the beginning of their lives. Yeah.
Wow.
Something that
Wow. I
we should
love
probably
that.
be nourishing,
We should
not
be.
trying to push people into a different mold and learning from
Wow.
these highly intuitive minds.
Wow. I love
This could
that.
also be
Look at
potters
that.
and sculptors, like using your hands.
Mm-hmm.
The third house
Intuitive.
and Mercury is
Right.
hands.
Right. Both of my siblings have this in their chart, and I
Okay.
see it as having a very far away sibling. This is something we didn't talk about in the
That's a good
beginning,
one. I love
but
that.
Neptune is often where you feel
Yeah,
very
far away.
what can feel very, very far away, very distant, and almost like abandonment. You can get that. I really should have put that into the beginning. I left my family home at a very young age, and my siblings, like I've always had a lot of space between me and my siblings, and ironically, they both have Neptune in the third, I have Venus and Mars in my third, which is like both of them like in my third, which is quite close to me. Like I feel quite close to them, but I think they feel very far from me. So it's always been an interesting dynamic. They also, my family lived abroad for a second when we were all growing up, and so I think that third house Neptune can also be like needing to adapt immediate environments in foreign places. Like there can be a shifting, a moving signature there just because what is local suddenly becomes very foreign, or like there's some mix of like feeling lost in your own immediate environment, or just like you were saying, having a very intuitive grasp of movement in your local environment, or of course movement in your mind, whether that's through speech or just thinking, but definitely non-traditional, very spiritualized ways of getting telepathy, like you said. And I think both of my siblings were more telepathic than I was as a child.
Wow.
Actually, I mean, I would say they were much more into spirituality way earlier than I was. Neither of them are like professional. They're like both therapists, which is, that healing use of language as well.
I think that there would be just, yeah, that strong connection mentally, like a daily life.
Hmm,
You're not ever, in some ways, you're not ever that far away from Neptune and its ideas,
that's
and
true.
they're very accessible in the third house. And I think an understanding that would form that some of us that don't have that signature might not feel as much, that maybe that what you're describing with your siblings is that
Hmm.
there's an ability to put this in a form that we can use here on Earth.
Exactly. What's coming to my mind as you're saying that is if you get bigger than than whatever the situation is looking like abandonment or looking like trauma, then you can heal it through getting bigger than the grief, or like getting bigger than like learning to see your whole identity get, just so much, like you're so much bigger. You take up all the space that apparently that thing that's far away, it's like, oh no, that's all you also. And so I think that engenders kind of some of what you're saying, right? Like our healing potential is just huge because then we have mental access to it, which is pretty incredible,
Yeah.
right?
Grief is an important one to talk about here as well,
Mm,
because this really fits that counselor, someone that's
mm-hmm.
talking about grief and
Right,
loss
right,
and working through that through words. This could be writers of too,
right.
people that
Oh,
write
art
about
through the
the
word. Yeah.
cosmos or loss or grief or
Mm,
unconditional love or
mm-hmm.
forgiveness.
Right,
This reminds
right,
me of
right,
like
right,
Thich
right,
Nhat Hanh might have a third house
right.
Neptune type of.
Such a great speaker. Yeah. My goodness. Wow, that's a great one. Almost like motivational speaker in a weird way, or like channel. It could be a
Mm-hmm,
channel. Yeah.
definitely.
That's an easy way to sum, I think, that all of this.
Let us know in the comments if you have this signature. Are you a writer? Are you a mystical writer? What's your
Yes.
Substack?
What's your
And
subset? Drop it. Yeah.
yeah.
Amazing. That's so good.
And
Ah,
now the fourth house. I have this Neptune in the
okay.
fourth.
Well, then tell us.
And I'll start with talking about mold and gaseous substances and
Oh my
poisons and
goodness.
toxins. And we haven't talked enough about Neptune rules, those
That's
things.
right.
And living by the ocean has been a big part of my life. This is where you can have, mine is in Sagittarius, as we spoke about. So there's a lot of layers for foreign places and foreign countries. The spirituality when I think of the fourth house as the foundation of who we are, it's always been felt like that to me, a foundational energy that I'm connected to, thoughts of what else is out there. And but I've experienced the dissolving quality where many of my homes, because of the mold and the toxins and all of those experiences that it's brought, people that show up that have Neptune challenges can have leaks in the pipes and have experience a pipe breaking or a flood in the house. Those are often when people go through that, we can see these Neptune connections. And then that is the dissolving and moving on. And there's a bit of a reset in that. And I was speaking about this recently in a reading where I look at this as the opportunity being that I get to have a new birth chart for a new home very frequently. So when we talk about birth charts for a moment, there's that piece about loss and reset. And there can be Neptune can have people that want to dissociate more, and that's one of the protective patterns in my family lineage is on there's alcohol use and those sort of things on both sides of the family. And that can add to a lack of reality in the household or that as a family lineage pattern, and also feel connected to a family lineage of spiritual ancestors.
I mean, I'm like, yeah, this whole Neptune being the coping mechanisms for life, like how we cope with the grief and how we make non-linear sense of the unknowable truth. You know what I mean? And like, there's no coincidence that like spirits are called spirits. Like alcohol is called like spirits because the Neptune spirits and the ghosts and the ancestors. You know what I mean? Like these are
Good
all
one. You could have ghosts in your house. This is
linguistically,
also,
yeah, that's true. You've got ghosts in
and
your
I
house.
did growing up. We
Oh my
had
goodness.
Hell's Angels occupied my childhood home at
What
some
did you
point
just
before
say?
we lived.
Hell's Angels?
Hell's
I don't
Angels.
even know what
Yeah.
that
And
is.
so I think, oh, it's a motorcycle
It's a motorcycle gang.
gang.
Okay.
Yeah. But there was an era where there was considered some potentially violence and murders, and I don't know, but there was a portal in my closet that would sometimes open, and I would have spirits come out and project on the walls. And it was a whole thing. And my brother went through it too. And we also both astral projected as kids, and we would astral project and fly down the stairs together at night. And there was this cord that would stop us. We couldn't get further than a certain corner that wrapped around the hallway, and we could see our parents in the kitchen, but we couldn't like. So there's yeah, a lot of Neptunian stuff that went on in my house.
Jen, this is what I meant in the beginning when I said that the people with Neptune and Sag are fucking strong. Because what the heck? Sorry, I have to stop swearing so much,
Yeah,
but
I know.
like,
It's funny.
oh my God. Talk about a direct experience. I've never had anything like that in my life. I'm
Okay, well,
almost jealous. Because my goodness. Oh my
yes, very. I
goodness.
didn't think about the Sag piece, but yeah, a real lived experience in the house. Neptune in the in Sag in the fourth.
That's actually incredible. I mean, where my mind goes is just like ultra compassionate, ultra emotionally compassionate, which you are, right? I mean, this is your line of work and it's beams out of you unconditionally. And I think that's why so many people love you and can attune to your work is
Oh,
just because it's so,
Julianne.
well, it's
That's sweet.
true, right? Like you create this like beam of like heart and healing that even just my goodness. So I think that's just in how you see yourself on that deepest level. And for anyone with the signature, really like to see, because as I'm thinking about it, that Neptune is really where we grow, where we can unconditionally grow, where we can limitlessly grow into an idea of self that transcends even our birth chart, that transcends the, restrictions of society. And, irony is I'm reading it in the birth chart. And for this, it's like that capacity to transmute emotionally and to evolve through the emotional body and heal through the emotional body itself. I mean, no wonder you're putting out your work on emotions, right? Like you're healing, like that's your antenna. Like somehow I see like Neptune and Chiron is very similar to me. Like there's like an antenna to the highest healing potential there. But of course, it comes through these experiences of the fog and like the spirits and the coping mechanisms, the unhealthy or healthy, right? So,
Yeah, I like that with the antenna. And when it comes to the compassion and unconditional love, that also relates back to family when you have that in the
right,
fourth house, that there, no matter what happens,
right,
there's a love for the lineage and for the family. And
right.
yeah.
Wow, so beautiful. I love
Yeah,
fourth
well,
house things.
thanks. Well, I'd love to.
Oh,
Did anyone else astral project or ghosts in their
that's
closets with Neptune
crazy.
in the fourth?
You need to do a whole video on that, Jen.
Yeah, let's
Anyway,
come join
just
me on that
saying.
one.
Yeah, please, I'll be watching.
Do you Neptune in the fifth or Leo?
Ultra creative for this one. I mean, my goodness, ultra potentially incredibly prideful as well. Like someone who really, I guess the shadow side of this could be the illusion, you creating who you think you are. And then having like a loss of identity based on there's some type of creating of a character of who you are in your life and maybe a lot of ego investment into that character and then experiencing like the loss or the disillusion of who like of the truth of who that is based on how that relates to, what's more enduring in your life. But then, of course, at the same time, I think the creative process itself, maybe that Neptune lesson is just the creative process always exists, and that's how you're always growing greater and greater. As I was saying in the fourth house, like you grow and grow and grow and grow, and you reach your, unlimited, unconditional perspective. But in this house in Leo in the fifth, it's all about the heart, and it's all about your creative process, which ultimately is a process of you being able to share your heart confidently. It's like learning confidence, right? Like using what can you be confident about? What truth are you confident in? It's almost like a preacher, like it's almost like a superstar energy, having Neptune in the fifth house, like someone who really wants to shine, or not even wants to. This Neptune is like you're always kind of naturally doing it. It's happening, right? Like this is someone who bright and really connected, but if you feel disconnected, then you could feel really dim or have a lack of confidence as well. So that could maybe be the dynamic in life where it goes up and down a little bit. What comes to
Yeah, I mean,
you?
there's so much vastness
Yeah.
in the creativity, like you're saying. This
Mm.
makes me think of, um, I don't know if this is really Neptunian, but it makes me think of water paints and watercolors
Ooh, good one.
and definitely the film connection. But when someone's house of play is connected to Neptune, there could be a lot of like festivals and
Just
Burning
gonna say
Man
drugs.
culture and
Yeah.
dressing up and
Yeah, yeah,
drugs
yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go.
and someone that's really into hallucinogenic journeying and
Mm,
but play. Like this is a fun, upbeat, vibrant element of Neptune. This and combining it with Leo is a very out there type
right,
of like this is it brings it into the light and more of, and when you were talking it could be somebody who has a lot of moments of ego dissolving, and this could
right.
be part of being into substances as part of a play, and you're and
Mhm.
warping reality to get into that play zone.
There you
And
go. That's a good, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, this could also be, the romantic dream. This could be
mm,
very romantic, very much
this is
loving
romantic idealization too.
idealization, right?
This is
Right.
crushing
Crushing.
hard
Right.
and not being grounded in reality. This
Right.
is the excitement of like dating and romanticizing someone that you don't know. And that
Right.
just because the fifth house covers dating and
Hmm.
romance and the things that we do within bonds that are just for fun. So this is before the
Mm,
commitment. This
hmm.
is the excitement of getting to know someone new before you know everything about them, like their eighth house shadows and
Mm.
their
You could feel like a real deep longing for children in this one. Like I wonder, or like the meaning of your children feels very like really important, or whatever your creative output is, feels overwhelming, or something really, really important about your capacity to create something. And I know that it's like got that joyful, non-committed part to it. That Leo is the sign that comes after Cancer, and so we have birthed a thing, and there is a deep commitment to wanting it to nurture. It's like wanting to nurture it and see its whole thing through. And so like really loving play and seeing the healing potential of play. I could, there are some therapists that are like very play forward, like or like a children's therapist, even for example, like someone who really
art
specializes
therapy
art.
too.
There you go. That's what it is. I feel like that's a
And that's
really
what we do with children a lot. And I love that you're
mm-hmm,
bringing children into this because that is a very important part of the
the
fifth house.
fifth.
And
Yeah.
someone could feel closer to God or spirituality through their
Mm,
children, in
mm-hmm.
that children hold that
Yeah.
connection to Neptune. It's kind of like that first little bit of rising years, if you're going above the ascendant motion,
Right.
diurnal motion, that we're holding on to those Neptune realms when we're
Mm.
children. And it's through children that we can get back in touch with that.
Yeah, I wonder about
All
this one.
these,
If you have this one, I'm so curious how it's shown up.
yeah. We have Neptunian like babies.
Yeah, Neptunian babies.
The sixth house. This is a tricky spot too for Neptune in the sixth house. And I
Mm,
think this can be
right.
another signature for Neptunian habits. So that habit to not be connected to reality or to, excuse me,
Mm,
use substances that
right.
as addiction can show up with Neptune in the sixth house. Yet this can also be our film creators
Mm-hmm.
and graphic artists
Mm-hmm.
and people that do Neptune for work
Right.
also would in the spiritual capacity.
Right. Right.
I
Right.
would think
Right.
maybe ministers and priests could have Neptune
Mm,
in the
that's a
sixth.
really good one too. Yeah, again, any of the earth houses, I think gardens, like people who really understand the like spiritual, like herbalism comes on really strong here. Again, like an
Hmm.
apothecary or a library, like just the wisdom, the Akashic records, anything that has to be like specifically organized or specifically entered through a specific devotional process. I like that you said the priests or even the nuns or anyone who's into ritual work like magic spells or anything like this because of the
Yes. This is the wizards as
process.
well have
Exactly.
this.
But these are the
I
real
should say
nerdy
wizards
ones.
instead of priests. There are more
That's so
wizards
funny.
around these
You're
days than
right.
priests.
That's so funny. It's the real nerdy ones though that like really want to get into the
Yeah.
mechanics though. It's that and then it's also like you said the people who maybe they were really disciplined in some type of spiritual access when they were young and then became disillusioned in that and then turned to a different substance for coping mechanisms. But then maybe they get sober and then find their own connection to God. Like there's a real journey
Yeah,
that
this
can happen in that sixth house
it makes
with
me think of
Neptune.
cult experiences too. If people grew up in a
Mm,
cult,
right.
not by choice,
That's
but that
good.
becomes
Right.
your environment and it's separate from reality and the rest of the world. And so
Right.
there's this illusion, and yet that can, like you said, it's that searching that gets the clarity in the
Right.
Neptune realm and what we consider important for our own spirituality.
Because it's so much about, for me, just the devotional. Like you really want to be connected to God here. There's a really deep, like, desire to devote every waking moment to the truth. And so that wanting to be perfect for it as well. Like there's a real, but then at the same time, it's like it can be so overwhelming that you can completely give up on perfection. Like you can feel completely useless or like you're already undeserving. Like you can feel very overly humble, too low, perhaps, if you that is an overwhelm experience with
Yeah,
Neptune there.
this is the polarity. This is the Pisces
Right.
Virgo
Right.
axis, and this is where Neptune might struggle. It might be hard to get work done. I'm curious to hear
Mm-hmm.
from anyone listening who has this, like, because it might be an indication to devote to that more, use this energy to devote
Right.
to mysticism
Right.
and a clear spiritual path, and that you might feel less lost
Right.
than floating around and trying to have a more typical day-to-day experience because you just
Absolutely.
might not.
Absolutely. Or just go swimming a lot. But
Yeah, go
yeah.
swimming a lot, and
Yeah.
and this is wonderful for letting intuition lead your work process to or your day-to-day
Look at
process. Like this
that.
is a
That's
person that doesn't
awesome.
want scheduled appointments. They just go with the
Right. They
flow
go with
and
it.
see where the day takes them,
Right.
and that would be encouraged to really strengthen that to see Neptune as a strength and not just the slipperiness that can feel when you're putting it into a sign that is embodying its opposite qualities.
Libra or the seventh house
Exactly.
with Neptune.
No, I'm not going to say
Huh?
that. But
What did you just say?
I have this because I have Pisces in the seventh. So I was like, this is a bit of a sad,
Uh,
but I'm joking because it's not going to show up the same way for everyone.
why do you say
And
it's
but
sad? You have to then qualify
because
this.
I think there's a lot of relationship yearning for people with Pisces in
And
the
that's
seventh
sad
or
because that
Neptune in the
implies,
seventh, that you can't grasp that
mm,
relationship, that there can be loss,
right.
yet the fantasy becomes reality here. This
Right.
is where you will
Right.
have a concept of the ideal relationship, the ideal partner. You can get lost and have struggles within that because
Mm-hmm.
everybody has a dose of reality. And that's part
Right.
of a long lasting, loving, unconditional love relationship, which is all that much. That's why I was joking because but I see this in charts. I see people
Mm-hmm.
with relationship yearning that have strong
Right.
Neptunes connected to their seventh house. And you can be in a relationship and feel that.
Right. Of course.
You can also attract people that are part of your path to intuition and connectedness to all things and attract Neptunian type people. Um, Also, a person that might not want to be in a committed contract or might
Needs a
avoid
lot of freedom.
very, yeah, needs space and very changeable as well.
Mm-hmm.
I see Neptune as multifaceted in that, just as far as the seventh house being contracts and Neptune wanting to be all things and be
Right.
very fluid. And this could be, there are a lot of other archetypes that I put more with this, but people that are in challenging the boundaries of how we define
Mm,
relationships. So open
right.
relationships
Non-traditional. Yeah.
and non-traditional polyamory and all of those um, avenues as well. What do you think with this one,
No,
Julia?
that's brilliant. I just think this is a signature of someone who really sees God in everybody at the best, right? And
That's
that
beautiful.
goes back to, I
Yeah.
mean, let's say in your chart, right, like back to this ultra compassion element of Neptune in the fourth, and then having Pisces in the seventh is like really seeing seeing rose-colored glasses, like seeing other people through rose-colored glasses. And I think when you have the
Definitely.
right container of like say client work, which you do, and there's certain boundaries around like where that it's ironic, it's almost impossible, right? But like certain boundaries of how you're using the Neptune, then that is healing, right? Then it is healing because then those boundaries aren't being crossed, and it's more like you help someone see their infinitude. You know what I mean? Like you allow yourself to have your own edges so that you can project the ultimate truth into someone else and offer them that feeling in a moment. You know what I mean? Like you're always seeing someone through rose-colored glasses with that aspect. And of course,
So true. And I
that's
love
a
that. And
really,
well, I'm biased, but I think it's a beautiful way to live. I mean,
oh
it's
my
a good,
God,
but you get there's a deception
of
in
course,
Neptune too. And so there's that piece of the rose color, there's that side of the rose colored glasses, yet why not?
why not? I mean, it's like
There's
if you let yourself stay on the like inspired aspect of it, and then it's a real Sufist, like Sufi relationship, like the Sufi paradigm of relationships, which is like let a broken heart lets more light in, just like really meeting God through heartbreak is very much so like when we reach those lows or the disillusioning parts of relationships is really when you meet the deepest part of yourself and you meet the most unconditionally loving connection to the universe that's possible, which is more than one person would ever be able to give you or to reflect to you. But it's the combination of everyone and everything, right? And it's so yeah, I know it's a strong Sufi. It gives me strong Sufi vibes. Um, just that whole canon of poetry of like how important it is to find God and the beloved, like to really really love someone and have that be your spiritual pursuit, being relationships, but trusting that whatever the way flows, it's like heartbreak or complete joy and ecstasy are the same, right? It's that balancing of that first and seventh of like we can live in the extremes in that seventh house a little bit with someone else that we're opposing. But there's such an allure there. There's a shine. There's a truth that is undeniable. And so this is a really inspired person, I would say also, like someone who can really draw incredible inspiration from anywhere they look in the world. So incredibly creative and yeah, that's what's coming to my mind. But I'm also hyper positive about this type of stuff. So,
Yeah, no, I think that's such a great perspective. And I love that you're bringing in the mirror piece of
mm,
the first and seventh house
hmm
axis is that the, the people become that even more so with Neptune in the seventh house. And the ecstasy, we haven't talked about that enough with
Mm,
Neptune,
yeah,
in that this, for all placements, there is a
it's
strong quality
ecstasy.
of being in the euphoria of life,
Mm,
of partnerships, of
mm.
love, of that energy that we all get to tap into.
It's a really
Yeah.
real
And it's part of
experience.
the longing and the chase with Neptune,
Totally.
is that once we felt it, we want to feel it again. And that can be a
Right.
strong of Neptune as well. The seventh, oh,
Okay.
the eighth house now.
Scorpio. And so this will be interesting because actually I think a big chunk of the population has this a lot like people who are watching YouTube. I mean, like I think there are some because I think these people are 1957 and 1970, if I have those dates
Right.
correct. And that's the generation that's before the Sag generation, right? And so, um, I mean, for me, Neptune and Scorpio, right? I think my parents have this aspect, like it's, or this signature. Um, the truth is in transformation and the like walking through the fire of transformation in your life. And I think that tracks for my parents, both of them, right? Like they've come through incredible change in their life, just of who they know themselves to be, like their own religious and their own faith, right? Financial change, like everything. It's ultimately about having ultimate faith in in trusting that you will survive or that it doesn't even matter if you survive. Like having ultimate trust that even going through the worst is is part of the process. And so these are incredibly I mean, and then on the other side of that, of course, it's profound psychic attunement. Okay. And so here's what I always think about too is the generation before your generation, like the Sag Neptunes like yourself are like hyper psychic and hyper can what was it you're saying astral project like through your Neptune. These people, Neptune and Scorpio, are like the next level of that, I think, because that is like the merging of the Scorpionic and the Pluto with the Neptune and the Pisces, which is just like psychic mastery. I mean, to some extent, this could be psychic manipulation as well. This could be someone who misuses their psychic power or their immediate connection to the collective consciousness. Like this could be some serious work, like psychic work that can be done. It gives me the whole, what is it, the CIA tapes vibes. I don't know when that happened actually, but this would be like someone who really wants to keep the truth a secret also. There's something
Mm,
really vulnerable, like not vulnerable, but really powerful. Like only the initiated can know these truths, can only, and I think that like by my parents' generation, a lot of the spirituality stuff we talk about very openly today, I think you were mentioning this earlier, like was not talked about. It was a little bit hush. It was kind of taboo. And I think that Neptune and Scorpio kind of speaks to that, right? Like to unconditionally love yourself was a little bit taboo at that point. And for this generation of people, I think, right? To some
yeah,
extent.
that's
Not
such
for
a good
everybody,
point.
but
And I think the hidden part that's very scorpionic to have, or Neptune in the eighth house, is it's a secret. It's a private experience. And something that hit me strongly last week about this quality was realizing that when you keep things to yourself, you enhance that energy for yourself. And as soon as it's shared, you lose a little bit of it to someone else, to that experience, just from an energetic perspective. And so that could be something that this generation or anyone with that placement feels, is that you have more of that connection when you keep it as your own internal experience. But I would see also cycles that this could go through, big changes and reversals of faith. You could go on and off of like, how could God do this to me in my life? I don't believe in any of this. And then come full circle to a complete different religion, or again, just keep it personal and keep it in your back pocket as something that is just for you.
I'm very interested to talk to more people with this signature. I have a few in my life, and I think I've worked with a few as well. But it's because they're so secretive. You know what I mean? They're either very masterful and really opening up really hard truths to the world, um, or they just aren't maybe talking about it. You know what I mean? Like they're keeping that. And so if you have this, please tell us. I'm so curious.
Yeah, and
Um,
I would love to hear, I would think like these people are very big believers in life after death. Like this would be
mm,
like what are
good
your thoughts
one.
on life after death
There you
and
go.
reincarnation and
Reincarnation. Oh, for
how does
sure. Whoa. Look at that. I really want to know. Someone please comment.
So then we have Neptune in the
And
ninth
Sag,
house, and this will overlap with some of what we've spoken
talked
about
a
with
lot
Sag.
about
And I think
earlier.
you have such a good take on that. I think it's very
Yeah,
experiential. You were talking a
right.
lot about teachers, though,
hmm
Julia, in
Well, I think
this.
that these are a lot of spiritual teachers, like people who have a lot, like it's the merging of a Jupiter and a Neptune, right? Like Jupiter being the teacher, the person that can hold the like full picture, and then Neptune transmits through that.
Neptune Jupiter
Uh,
conjunction is very that happened
mm,
in like the early 90s. So I just wanted to check the date because people that were born under that, it might even be 86, 89,
it's
right?
close
And
to
so
me. I
that's going
have
to
a
be
balsamic Jupiter Neptune.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, there you go. You know this.
96.
So,
Yeah.
and
Um,
these are spiritual teachers. Like I always
yeah,
think
yeah, 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 yeah.
I see so many of them. They're the leaders right now for
Mm.
keeping this stuff alive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so is your like this generation is the one doing it because they have enough optimism in the unknowable truth. You know what I mean? Like, because this unknowable truth stuff can be not that optimistic because it's so gonna fall through your fingers. You know what I mean? But that Jupiter, you find it in nature, you find it in natural law, you find it in your own whatever you believe in, you can extract something completely higher than that. Even if whatever you believe in, we have to tell a story subjectively, right? That's a Jupiter thing, that's a Sag thing. We have to sell the car, right? But being a good salesperson, you can sell any car, right? And the higher truth is in the abundance, I suppose, right? Or in the universality of you just having your needs met and feeling loved, you know what I mean? And of course the salesperson has a negative connotation, but I mean that in a really positive sense that like you can translate really anything with this. Like you can culturally translate different truths, right? Like one culture's truth is united by one similar belief in universal love, you know what I mean? Like so many cultures have that same core belief, and that Jupiter is the different cultures. And then so anyway, this signature is just totally spiritual teacher signature. And I think, and it's not to say everyone who has this has to be a teacher, but it's there's a really beautiful and optimistic sense of like psychic power that I get from that, like people like yourself, other people I know here that I'm just so inspired by because they're so much more optimistic in their faith, and it shines through them and like you. Whereas like we'll get to Capricorn next, which is me, and I have thoughts on myself. But yeah, that's what I
I
think.
like this optimism piece that you're
Yeah.
pulling into it. And it makes me think of also these are the people that see religions as unified, that can see that all
There you
religions
go.
are speaking to the
The
same
same.
unified thing and Neptunian all-encompassing energy and the yeah, maybe even creating new spiritual practices from
Mm,
that perspective. But this is like about blending the foreign pieces together and
right.
also having those rituals that this is someone who might actually meditate to and pray to Neptune and not
Mm,
practice typical
right.
Catholicism or some
Right.
of the past traditions that we've had. Whereas maybe Neptune and Capricorn is different. Maybe some Neptune and Capricorn people can bring in more of the traditional perspectives. Maybe we could lead into that. But this Neptune in Sag could be that speak to the traveler and the overseas,
Right.
the people that
Totally.
are
Oh, that's a good one too.
going to
That's really good.
live on islands far away from where.
I feel like that generation does that too, right? Like there's like they're in Bali, I mean there's a part of every generation there, right? But like, people are, going like not different from yourself, I imagine. Like you go
Yeah,
through
that's I'm living it.
one phase of life, like thinking things are one way, but then you accumulate enough experience to realize like or to just finally live into it. You know what I mean? And not to say the first whatever part of your life wasn't that. Like any work you do, you're carrying that capacity to teach it and feel it and hold it. And it's healing. Like you were a healer. You've been a healer throughout your whole career. You know what I mean? Like from what I know of you. And so it's not like
Yeah.
one phase is more or less than the other. It's just it that transforms.
There is that
Yeah,
changeability, and this
totally
is the
mutable.
mutable axis.
Super
Yeah,
mutable.
for
That's right. For
both.
both.
Yeah.
Wow, that's super interesting. See, I love this one. And it's just, it's been so helpful for me to like unpack this and understand it because I feel so different. I feel so different and I feel like the wisdom of these different accesses. So like this Neptune Sag access to the unconscious, like the collective unconscious is so like buoyant and so and I guess I'll say one thing, which is that I think it can also be easily sold on a dream that's not real too. Like there's a lot of disappointment and disillusionment within the realm of spirituality itself. Like it gives me some vibe of the people, maybe, and maybe also Neptune and Scorpio people too, but people who have been really disillusioned by a cult. This could be a cult, someone who finds himself in a cult as well, just because that you can be so sold that there's one idea of the truth before you realize how flexible reality is like so just because that Sag is like the super exuberant leader that says, you know, my
The
charisma is
Fool
the
card.
yeah,
I think of the Fool card
that's a good way to
in,
put
sorry,
it
I didn't
too.
mean to cut you
No, no,
off,
no,
but
you're right.
that like just walking off the edge of the mountain without being
Totally.
fully prepared.
Yeah. Which is fine. You always pick yourself up, you know what I mean? But it's like you do go through that, right? Like there is a
But
potentiality.
we need the wanderers and
We
the
do.
spiritual wanderers and explorers and
Well, you need to have your direct
um
experience with it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Not dissimilar to the
Yes.
Aries and the Leo, the fire archetypes, right? Like you're really charting your own path, which means you might go into someone else's territory for a minute before you realize it's not yours, right? Like that's all it is. It's like,
Or is that Capricornian? I feel like we're getting some really good leads into
oh,
Neptune and Cap, but
yikes.
I would
We
love,
can go there.
yeah, anyone else
Let us know
that
though.
has stuff to offer with, are you a are you a Jupiter Neptune conjunction person?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you have
Mm-hmm.
this Jupiter in, or sorry, Neptune in Sag connection? Let us know
Yeah. You know,
what you've
any of these
experienced.
signs could be a Jupiter conjunct Scorpio, Sag, or Capricorn, probably, or and even the ones earlier too, but because Jupiter only takes a year, 12 years. And if it's 14 years for Neptune, then like Jupiter will go through at
Right.
least once to Neptune. And so there's a high chance. Anyway, I'm just nerding out here. Let
Yeah,
us
and these
know.
could also be the people who have experienced alien abduction because this is the experience of Neptune. So, have you seen UFOs or been abducted by aliens and have this signature of Neptune in the ninth?
Oh my goodness. I love this. I can't wait to hear that. That'll have its own whole episode.
Neptune in Capricorn or the 10th house.
See, I'm already giving a big sigh because I'm like, it's heavy. Like it's odd because Neptune is like this weightless, doesn't exist thing, and yet Capricorn is like the heaviest of it all. It means that I think this generation, this signature takes spirituality very seriously, takes their connection to universality very seriously, whether that's through science, whether that's through religion, whether that's through like alternative spirituality. People with this signature, I would say, generally speaking, are either on one side of the fence or the other, or they're completely lost. Like it's there's really not it's not that mutable, even though Neptune as a Pisces archetype is mutable, that Capricorn is very cardinal and really needs to make a decision in almost every moment of its life about what's right and what's wrong. And it's very black and white with Capricorn. And so it's hard because the Neptune and you know, the consciousness, the limitless consciousness and, unconditional love that Neptune wants to be pushing through in everyone's life in this position in Capricorn is incredibly rigid. It's like this is a taskmaster, that master. This is like someone who's the head of a temple that needs you to, that will make sure the rituals get. It's not even the nun performing the rituals. It's the priest in charge that's saying like the rituals must be performed this way. And even though the priest knows the point is not the ritual, the point is the practice, right? Like I think that's might be the highest expression of it. But of course, Sagittarius, I mean Capricorn, Neptune people, many people with this signature will stay within an organized religion their whole lives, whether they're super spiritual or they're not, because it's any they we need a structure to connect to the limitlessness. And so even people who stay in organized religion their whole lives, maybe very deep down or even very superficially, are very easily able to talk to people within other religions because similar to what we were saying with Sagittarius, like there's many truths. And I think with Neptune, you have that higher understanding that the different, whatever framework it is, will get you there, but you need a framework. Like you need a scaffolding to climb to reach God essentially, or you end up realizing that God is the scaffolding, or that like, God is in the money that we need to raise the church so that everyone can come in and enjoy it. You know what I mean? But someone needs to, so it does create a strong desire for I wouldn't I want to say materiality and success, but I think what it boils down to on a more deep level is just like leadership and decision making around spirituality. It's like these are people who want to be very clear about what they believe and they like need that. And so we can go through times where we truly have nothing to lean on. Like we feel like the spiritual frameworks we had are totally gone. Um, so yeah, and then like I don't know, some people in my age have that Jupiter um Neptune conjunction in Capricorn as well, which I also do. And so it's like you're also when you have anything conjunct Capricorn, it's being, especially in the balsamic phase, it's being dissolved essentially, right? Like so my Jupiter is kind of being dissolved and eaten by that Capricorn. And so whatever wisdom, Capricornian wisdom I have is like, haha, just throw it into the ether. You know what I mean? Like it's okay. And
A
that's
lot
true
of
for,
rebuilding.
yeah, well, I think, well, I don't know if that's this life for me. You know what I mean? That's a balsamic. Anyway, this is very specific to me now, but I think a
Or
lot of
maybe just
people,
dissolving and not rebuilding.
yeah, and but here's what I'll say for everyone though, is that anything that's past that's in Capricorn has been through that Pluto stuff over the last 15 years, and we're all in a new phase to it now, which means we are building, regardless of what's happening in our personal charts. We are in that new phase of Pluto and Aquarius in that next sign over, and we're still kind of exploring what it means to rebuild that Capricorn thing. But I do think the generation, anyway, I'm on a soapbox here. I want to hear what you think. I've said enough.
No, I think it's so beautiful and descriptive, and these are contrasting energies that also need each other. This
Mm,
is the gift of Neptune, is to have the construction of Capricorn to blend and merge with something that's intangible. And yet this Capricorn can, or the 10th house, it can pull out more of the dark side sometimes
right.
of creating structure and what it means to build, like build a foundation and build that on when there can be, doesn't feel completely applicable, but it gives me the feelings of where there could be manipulation of power
I
just
think that's totally
because of that
applicable.
Capricornian.
Totally applicable.
Well, I think of that as a very
Completely.
Pluto eighth house
Sure.
thing that we did touch on there too. But yeah, and I love what you said about the rigidity that Capricorn can bring to this element. And I've been thinking about this for the few of the signs that we've done, but one of the things that Google pointed out for this era was that this is the fall of the Berlin Wall and corporate
Uh-huh.
restructuring.
Uh-huh.
In comparison to Neptune and Scorpio, which was the civil rights movement, sexual revolution, punk music,
Mm,
in comparison to, sorry, Sagittarius, I skipped over, um, was globalization, spiritual exploration, and space travel.
there
So,
you
like,
go.
space
Right.
travel to punk music to the
Mm-hmm.
fall of the Berlin Wall is so
It's wild, right? Like the
Capricorn and
literal
Neptune.
wall dissolving. I mean, that was everything. I couldn't stop talking about that back in February when the Saturn Neptune conjunction completed and it was seated at that Berlin Wall conjunction. You know what I mean? So we were
Wow.
completing a Capricornian cycle of Saturn Neptune and we were beginning then the Aries cycle, which is completely different. Everything, every dream we had before last February was built on this like idea of Capricorn, which was building some some tangible, reliable structure for unknowable truth, right? And like whether that's a company or resources that make you feel completely abundant and untouchable, you know what I mean? And so I think to say that the financial manipulation, the oppressive structures of power that exist are totally used as a coping mechanism for people who feel powerless or people who feel disconnected to God. Come, this is where this is the exact generation that both lives out and problematizes capitalism kind of being a new religion or like the lack of religion in the modern world and being replaced by consumerism because Capricorn is where again it's super black and white. You either ate it or you didn't. You have it or you don't, right? Like there's no this is the very skeptical generation too of like the science people who want the black and white evidence of God instead of being okay in the unknown realm. Of course, many of us are not that way, right? But I'm saying there's a whole bunch of people who are.
Well, there's such a strong contrast here of separateness and togetherness. And that's the
Right. There
fall
you
of the
go.
Berlin Wall, too, is that
There
what
you go.
does Capricorn achieve that has structures of hierarchy and keeping us all in separate places? And then
Mm,
the dissolving of that with Neptune coming along. But this is one where I would definitely love to hear what
yeah.
other people are experiencing with Neptune in Capricorn or Neptune in the 10th house. And if it's Neptune in the 10th house, this is also people in film and
Right, right,
movies.
right, 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 right.
I see a
Absolutely.
lot of film stars with Neptune in the 10th.
Yeah. That's a good one because it's your career, like creativity becomes your legacy in that signature for sure, or like your
Yeah, and there's
connection.
a public image of illusion too.
Right, of
There's
course.
something that the public sees of you that's
Hmm. There you
not
go.
fully real.
That's so interesting. Okay, well, yeah, let us know if you're any and all of the above. 11th house Aquarius.
Yeah, which is also part of your
It is my
expertise.
signature. Um,
And I love the
my.
connections we can make here with Aquarius being the nervous system. The it is
Mm-hmm.
also so related to Neptune in the connection to the divine or the perspective from above. Yeah, it's its own creature of vapor versus electrical currents.
I love that. It is really electrical currents, that 11th house. I mean, it's like the nodes, right? Like the nodes of neural networks and community nodes that we live in the 11th house. And so having Neptune there is kind of wild because it like can be so incredible to be in a, let's say, a group of people or to be studying the brain or to be studying the new data or to be using the new technology. But then you can have a fall from grace very quickly. Like there's a very strong capacity to feel very alienated from a group in the signature, like a group that you maybe placed ultimate meaning in being a part of at some point, and then just not having it anymore, or feeling ousted or alienated from it. I definitely have experienced that multiple times in my life. What else? I mean, it's so like you're really at the edge of your seat anytime you're in the 11th house. Like it's that paradox of feeling like you're in the group, but somehow that group is on the outs of another group. Like you're in a special group, but that special group is on the outs of the more normal group or whatever, like whatever that is, whatever level of fractal reality you're at in that. And so it just means I think having this in my chart, I think this, and then for the whole generation of people with Neptune and Aquarius, it really is also that having like ultimate faith in, not let's not say technology, but like let's say unconditional, you could say love, but like this is Gen Z people. This people have Neptune and Aquarius. These are Gen Z people who are technologically more fluent than anybody and have been since younger than anyone else on the planet, right? And so that the divine is in the data, in the code, right? Like in the detached, almost academic, like seeing of the truth for what it is, right? But it is detached because they don't necessarily see themselves as the truth. I don't necessarily see like, oh, I am the truth, right? Like I'm not the center of this group. I'm not the one in charge here, but I see how when we're all together, there is something so special and so much larger, so much more infinite than any one of us could have been alone. Um, but yeah, that's also where people can get disillusioned from being online as well and like feel really isolated. So anyway, it could go a lot of ways, but that's what comes to my mind.
It was the birth of it all with the
Right.
internet. And I do feel that the internet has given us an opportunity to bring the cosmos into a more tangible
Mm,
thing with the like we have the World Wide Web matches the Pisces all encompassing, we are all one,
that's right.
access to everything, but it brings it into something more physical because Aquarius was ruled by Saturn by in before the outer planets were discovered. So
Mm.
there's that earthy, more grounded quality to Aquarius that it connects Neptune to. And um,
Well, yeah, it's also like the
yeah,
ground
these
up.
I was gonna say these people could have channels on astrology and spirituality like we
There you
do.
go. Yeah, 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 yeah. There you go. Cute. Oh my God. Well, that's it for this
Which a
one.
lot of them probably do. Like this is also a signature of this
It's true.
generation is online spiritual coaches.
Community coaches
There's
and communities, right? Like being a part
yeah,
of or having your own, like finding your church essentially is online. Like
yeah.
your sangha or your group, right?
I love
Is
that. Church.
somewhere detached from normal reality. Or on the other hand, it's just very grassroots with that Aquarian thing. Like it's very nonprofit, like really just like we're all working together here, right? Which I think a lot of young people definitely move in that direction these days on whatever end of the spectrum you're on. So,
Yeah, it's a
okay.
very lovely and functional place in a lot of ways, I think, to have Neptune too. So I would love to hear
Lovely and functional is
more
hilarious.
from these.
I don't know why. It's kind of true. It's totally true. But yeah, let us know. Let us know. I mean, man, so many people have this signature, so I'm sure people
Yeah.
will be skipping to this one to so many people online have this signature, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yes, that's a
And I'm
good.
sure many people who are interested in astrology also might have this signature as well.
And
It's not
our
a,
spirit gets to come through this
mhm.
internet
I mean, here
experience.
we
This
are
is
right now doing a very Neptune in the 11th house thing.
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Star of the
Pisces, Neptune and
show.
Pisces people. And this
Whoosh. Yep,
is just
12th
the
house.
past 15 years or the
That's
12th
right.
house. Double signature, double gestational
Hmm.
period, and a reset for Neptune. This is where Neptune resets, and I feel it and see it as kind of gathering more of its Neptunian, like what is the world ready for now at a Neptune level? This is where Neptune got to recharge and pick up, okay, what am I going to present now as it moves into Aries? And this is so much more coming up about what is reality
Mm,
and the deceit or the illusion that comes from online content and personas
mm.
online that we've been moving into in the last 15 years, more so since Aquarius.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to even fathom someone who has this in their birth chart, although I realize people born in 2012 have this, so it's like they're already how old would that make someone 20
15, yeah.
15 years old? Wow. I mean, I feel stunned to a certain extent when I try to articulate, what this means for a person's life.
Same.
Right? Like, and like thinking back to that time, which was only a few months ago, even still, when we had this signature for ourselves and we were living through it. It's stunning because it's so limitless and it is
Yeah.
so boundaryless and that
The ultimate intuitive.
ultimate compassion, ultimate like self-abandonment, ultimate ultimate. It was like a
Mhm.
balloon that never popped. And then even when Neptune moved into Aries, it didn't pop. It just became something very different. Like, and I think we all still have that memory. I still have that memory for sure of Neptune in Pisces, which is just that, as you said, this doubling signature of like
I think
the
we still have
most.
a Neptune and Pisces hangover. Like I
I
still
think
feel a bit
so.
of like, are we not still there? Like
I think
I
because
don't
the
feel like I'm
North
fully
Node,
over there.
I think the
Yeah,
North Node's
right.
still being there for the next 2 months or so. And actually, if you're watching this and you're going to come to our class, it'll be on the day that the nodes switch, which will be very interesting. I think that we are still absolutely in a hangover. I'm trying to talk about this right now and I feel like I'm hungover. I mean, partially because it's the final one we're doing, but also just because the signature itself, all I could do in that time was surrender. Like especially by the end of the signature.
Yeah.
And I don't know
Surrender. What a
about
great
you,
word to bring in for the last
right?
segment that
Like,
we haven't used that word yet, I don't think. And that
right?
is surrender. That's
I mean,
Neptune. We
I
don't
can't.
have a lot of choice.
You don't. And at the same time, though, I would say like people with the signature might be too surrendering. You know what I mean? Like that could be an ultimate like self-abandonment with the signature if you have other like other signatures in the chart. But all that self-abandonment would be wanting to point to is you realizing how big you are. Again, I'll say that like the grief that could come when you realize when you recognize you return to your body, like how huge. Because like how
And
it
nothing
limit
matters
nothing
too. This is
matters.
also an energy of like there's no
100%.
reason to take action or be full of
100%.
boundaries because nothing matters. And
Nothing matters.
if someone else is more concerned about having their
Right.
way, then just let them because it doesn't
Right.
matter.
Right.
That's like the a very
I
um
mean,
willow in the wind
oh, but
type of.
consider these charts though, Jen, if you think about it, like between this was the time when Pluto was in Capricorn. So people who are born with the signature these years, 2012 to 2026, like literally, sorry, yeah, 2026, like Pluto, some of them even Pluto in Aquarius, which is wild, but like Pluto in Capricorn, imagine Neptune in Pisces and Pluto in Capricorn, like, ooh, like there's a really deep desire to be in the world with that signature and yet having a direct access to how like limitless possibilities
Yet dissolve it. And this is
and
when we were
dissolve
talking
it.
about the potential of once we get to this Neptune opposition
Right.
in the
20,
42,
42.
these are the people that are going to be running the world at that time. These are the people that are going to be
That's true.
creating universal income and going into those streams of really dissolving this Capricorn energy with Pluto and Capricorn and living Neptune and Pisces, which is the
Ugh.
utopian era. This is where we get to go back to the what was that era of art and
Oh,
um I'm
the
blanking right now on
Renaissance.
the Renaissance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Something like this. Hopefully not backwards, but hopefully like an updated version of the Renaissance. Yeah,
Of
no, but
course,
absolutely
as it always
no, of
is.
course. I know you mean this, but um and it's also, I mean, I'm just thinking of people then also who have just it in the 12th house, like maybe in another sign. Like, is that still tracks, right? Because we're talking about the 12th house. Oh my God,
Yep,
my brain is
exactly.
so
Yeah, yeah.
fogged out right now. But it's like that even fogs out the whatever sign you're in once it's in the 12th house. It's like good luck. Like it's like you have to surrender whatever that is as well. To have Neptune in the 12th house, really whatever sign that is I would say what you are ultimately like surrendering. Because if you have Neptune in Pisces in the 12th house as a triple signature, right? Which is only this subset of people. But you could have Neptune, let's say, in these other signs in the 12th house as well. And that's still a double signature, though, of the 12th
Yeah, and it's
house.
tapping into that collective energy so
Right.
strongly and
Channel.
really understanding, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
channel and whether they even view it that way, it's a deep
Mm-hmm.
understanding of the collective and what's needed and spirituality and all that perspective. But this is definitely a signature where we would love to hear
Yeah, let us know.
how sharp is the antenna on those
Yeah, that's a good question,
Neptune 12th
actually.
house
Might not be that
people.
sharp. It might
Not
just
that, not
flood. You know what I
sharp,
mean?
but very, very open.
Very open. There you go.
And this is where you can't turn it off too. This is
Right.
also
That's
where,
hard.
depending on the personal chart, this is where you could be a little too open to
Hmm.
all realms at all times. And that
Hmm.
makes it distracting and hard to
Right.
focus and hard to exist in the practical world when needed.
Hmm. But
And
creativity
it will
off the
oppose your
charts, though.
sixth house.
That's
Since your
true.
planet's in the sixth house, then
Yeah.
it adds that tension. But yes, this is the ultimate creative, intuitive signature. And how does this show up in your lives? Would
Let
love to
us
hear
know. Let us
what
know.
this
And
looks
and
like.
and with that, we
Thank you
have
so much
finished.
for
Thank you
joining us
so
on this
much.
Neptune
Journey
journey across the ocean of
truly
the
into the
houses.
deep waters. We
Yes,
hope
and come
you
join
took
us
something
for
from
more
this.
muddled,
Yes.
yeah, well, more
It,
muddled conversations on Neptune
not muddled,
at the end of July. No, I'm just
just
teasing.
no, no, I know. Oh my
We're
goodness,
gonna
we're both
add
so
more
cooked.
clarity to the, yeah.
I feel like you're gonna join this like crazy hour by the end of it. It's actually really relaxing in this weird way because you're like, oh wow, the work is done. You know what I mean? That's the nice thing. When you
Yeah.
really work out the Neptune, you find yourself back at a very expanded neutral state. I mean, there is some Neptune is also sleep, right? I think you
Yeah.
said that at some point. So it's like, yeah, time to anyway,
And
but
it's peaceful. It is soothing. It
it
is a
is. It
lovely,
is.
yeah, euphoric
So
place to be.
we hope to see you with us. But till
Hope to
then,
see you there. So then
catch both
enjoy
of us on our
Neptune, and
channels. Enjoy Neptune.
and
Yes.
flow. We'll see you next time.
Bye
Bye.
bye.